normal. I'm Pastor Brenda. Really glad to meet you here in this space. Please hit the subscribe, hit the like button. We'd hope to see you here more, or join us on Friday night where we had this conversation. The night is normal. We've been talking about that throughout this series. It was in the night of darkness that Mary Magdalene made her way to the tomb of Jesus. John 20:21 says, "Early on Sunday morning, while it was still dark, Mary Magdalene came to the tomb." Remember the rhythm we've been talking about, where in the Jewish way, day begins in the night and then the morning comes. So the beginning for them is the night and then the morning. Where we are, the beginning is the morning when we wake up until the next day. But it's opposite. So in this beginning, while it was still dark, is when Mary Magdalene saw Jesus. Mary moved through the night to care for Jesus' rotting body, only to find out, and to be the first one, that Jesus was no longer there. He was risen. He was risen indeed. Mary went into the dark and found the light of the world. Wasn't the light of the world also born into the darkness? It was dark when the star was shining that led the wise men to Jesus. It was dark when the shepherds were visited by an angel and then by the chorus of angels to say, "He is born." Jesus' darkest hours were in the Garden of Gethsemane. In that honest and gut-wrenching time, God was there. Night is the rhythm of beginnings. Lent is the rhythm of beginnings. This makes the night normal. So maybe this darkness isn't an ending that it feels like. I know sometimes this just hurts so much and it feels like it's the end of everything. But maybe this is actually an invitation. Ralph Waldo Emerson poetically wrote, "Sometimes when it gets dark enough, people begin to see stars." There's a lot of thoughts about that. So let me just add some more before we have our first conversation. There's an article I found. It's called "What the Darkness Doesn't Obscure." And it's about a daughter of an astronomer. I'm just going to read her words, just sections of her words. The link for the article you'll find in the notes. "Into the moonless night of the desert outside of the Chilean town of San Pedro de Atacama, our party of 8 excitedly clambered out of the car. In the daytime, Valle de la Luna, or the Valley of the Moon, exhibits barren, unearthly scenery and rock formations in a kaleidoscope of pastel colors. But at night, as the car engine clicked off, we were submerged in vast darkness. The familiar sense of adrenaline filled my 10-year-old body. Looking straight ahead, I could wave my hand in front of my face without a flicker of detection. Closing my eyes or opening them, there was no difference, but keeping them closed made the darkness feel smaller and safer. In 2004, we were on the cusp of our move from Chile to South Africa. Not only a new home, but a new continent. The 4th one within my first 10 years of life. Maybe my insistence on keeping my eyes closed reflected my refusal to accept the fact that we really were leaving. Self-imposed darkness seemed easier to handle than the darkness of the unknown. I heard whispers around me. My sister, 3 years younger, had gotten out of the car yet. "Where is the flashlight, Daddy? I can't see anything." Although slightly panicked, she whispered out of the shared reverence for the night. It seemed natural to respect the dark, as if the noise would disturb the vastness of it. Some keep quiet because we are trained to assume sleepiness in the dark, or the implicit correlation of secrecy with nighttime activities. When we work in the dark, people assume we have something to hide, but many useful things happen in the dark. Newspapers are printed and delivered. Streets are cleaned. My father studied the stars. Just give your eyes a chance to adjust, he replied, like I knew he would. Ever since I can remember, turning on a flashlight in nature at night bordered on sacrilege in our family. My mild-tempered, soft-spoken dad, an astronomer, never admonished us directly, but instead guided gently with information. It takes hours for your night vision to become fully activated, as the rod cells in your eyes are very shy and will only activate properly once they're totally sure it is dark. Every time an unnatural light source hits your eyes assume it is day and go back to daytime vision. The night vision process must begin again. So that's just a waste of time, isn't it? Time where you could be enjoying the view. A comforting hand squeezed my shoulder. Did he know my eyes were still closed? There's no view, I sighed. We are surrounded by darkness. But that is not how my father saw it. What he saw was light that had traveled thousands of lifespans to reach us exactly where we were. When he explained this to me, I know there was no point walking around with my eyes closed, wrapped up in my own unfruitful darkness. So I held my breath and opened my eyes wide, welcoming the light, because that is what eventually all natural darkness reveals, the faintest of light. Looking up from the Chilean desert, slowly we watched the other world start to open. My pupils dilated to receive the night sky. Stray dots connected into a constellation, a sword hanging from Orion's belt. What was a blanket of black suddenly revealed streaks of the Milky Way as it folded within the light of other smaller and further galaxies. When everything around us is too bright, it becomes difficult to see the small lights. A city on a hill is not easy to hide. How often does a single window in a skyscraper catch our eye? I found out that darkness was a gift because it discloses the light. I found out that darkness was a gift because it discloses the light. Perhaps my father sensed my apprehension that night in the Chilean desert. Taking the laser beam, he directed it at the Southern Cross, the constellation of stars that directs us to the true south. You can never be totally lost if you just look up to what the darkness does not obscure. This realization helped me in the next move that followed. Even though Cape Town was a new and foreign city, when we sat on the shore of the Atlantic Ocean watching the sky go dark, those familiar lights started to reappear. The planets, Jupiter, Venus, reflected the sun. Sirius, the brightest star, hinted at where the Southern Cross would soon appear. I couldn't be lost when so much had stayed the same. Not all the light could be blocked out by the darkness of uncertainty. So much in there about this truth we talked about last week, how we can be in the darkness and still be in the light. And I loved that in the darkness, we are still connecting to the light that is not obscured. There's so much deep depth to that. Not all the light could be blocked out by the darkness of uncertainty. In the night, in the ritual of Lent, you will always know where you are because you see the light that you don't see when your life is normal. Because you can be in the light when you're still in the darkness, especially when you have eyes to see. Life gives you eyes to see. Why saints give you eyes to see. The conversations we have as a church give us eyes to see this light. No matter how painful, no matter how dark our life feels, we can open our eyes, look into the darkness. The night is normal that God created. And we can look for the light. And we're found again. Isaiah 9:2 says, "The people who walk in darkness will see a great light. For those who live in the land of deep darkness, a light will shine. Micah 7:8. Do not gloat over me, my enemies, for though I fall, I will rise again. Though I sit in darkness, the Lord will be my light. Luke 1:78-79. Because of God's tender mercy, the morning light from heaven is about to break upon us, to give light to those who sit in darkness and in the shadow of death, and to guide us to the path of peace. Psalm 18:28. You light a lamp for me. The Lord my God lights up the darkness. Do you see it? Do you see what I'm building towards here? Maybe this darkness in your life is not a punishment, but it is a pathway. Maybe darkness is the soul's way of saying, you can't do this on your own. Maybe this darkness isn't an ending, but it is an invitation. Perhaps this darkness is a place for us to encounter the only one who can walk us into the light in his time and in his way. There's so many beautiful thoughts in that. And when you're in the darkness, you definitely need some beautiful thoughts. So here we are, together. Isaiah 45:3 says, and I will give you the treasures hidden in the darkness, secret riches. I will do this so you may know that I am the Lord, the God of Israel, the one who calls you by name. It is a gift of secret riches to know the darkness. Hurts like hell, but it's still a gift. Because unknown things still happen in that darkness. Things grow in that darkness. Resurrection happens in that darkness. And as that verse in Isaiah finishes, the Lord calls you by name. You are not abandoned in that darkness. What grows at night? What heals at night? Have you noticed how your body heals overnight? Have you noticed how rest causes things to grow? Your one step forward, two steps back faith, it grows through the night. Barbara Brown Taylor wrote a beautiful book called Learning to Walk in the Dark. This quote is big. You ready? Instead, I have been given the gift of lunar spirituality, in which the divine light available to me waxes and wanes with the season. When I go out on my porch at night, the moon never looks the same way twice. Some nights it is as round and bright as a headlight. Other nights it is as thinner than the sickle hanging in my garage. Some nights it is as high in the sky, other nights low over the mountains. Some nights it is altogether gone, leaving a vast web of stars that are brighter in its absence. All in all, the moon is a truer mirror for my soul than the sun that looks the same way every day. The sun does look the same way every day, right? But at night, in that darkness, the moon changes every night. God doesn't change, but he shows himself to you differently every time in that night. And then there's always that one point in the darkness that you just know is your North Star, that you can count on being there. No matter how dark it is, no matter what God is showing you at that nighttime, there's always that dark star. I love this book, The Night is Normal. You may have heard that from me before. She said, Alicia Bertoli, the author, in the night we realize that, though personal, God is not pliable. Though a friend, God is not a peer. Though loving, God is not confined by our logic. Through spiritual pain, God is revealed as more complex, which surely is a more faithful perspective. So here's your question to talk about with your people. Does this thought of lunar spirituality or finding God to be different in the darkness than the steadiness of the sun, does this give you more fear about God, or does it invite you into the curiosity about God? Have that conversation. Just another quote from this book, The Night is Normal. That first night storm in my faith actually took me by surprise, and I initially interpreted it as a faith failure instead of an invitation to enrich my relationship with God. In that sense, I began writing this book a long time ago on a little porch in the middle of the night through the realization that storms are survivable when we view them as relational. The night is filled with the holy invitations to grow our love for God. At first, this darkness you're in right now, it feels like failure. Maybe it came from a sin failure and you're dealing with the shame. You're dealing with that regret that's choking you. But keep walking through the night. Keep looking for that North Star point. Keep looking every night at that moon that is ever changing, because God is ever changing his appearance to you to teach you, grow you, and heal you. Because this darkness, this night, is really relational. You are not abandoned in it. There is growth happening every night. The night is normal. If I can tag into what I taught the week before, darkness is your closest friend. Something beautiful is happening inside of you during this time. So your benediction is, watch God who is the sun, who is never changing, and then watch God who is the moon, who shows you different faces, different sizes, different locations, and is ever present. Be curious, because you will find God in a new way, because this is all relational. Amen.